welcome back to an apologetic version of the Voices of the Voiceless podcast. We were told to say sorry from our bosses because we don't have any balls. Because performance-enhancing drugs, that's what they do. With Barry Bonds, your dick doesn't shrink. That's a myth. But your balls do, and your head grows, and you grow some tits. So I mean, that's a whole other thing, but we'll edit that out, I guess. Anyway, I'm sober, by the way, just so everyone knows. But I'm in the process of moving home, and what an introduction. Brad, say something, please, dear God.
I was just gonna say I thought Barry Bonds had very nice tits from steroids. What do you think? They were at least a B cup?
Well, you know what's funny is that during it, I guess like a sketch at San Francisco Stadium back in the day, he dressed up as Paula Abdul, and a lot of people were saying like with those roids that they kind of looked alike. They were both, I think they're both African Americans, and Bond's 240, Paula like 120, and the boobs were the same size, legitimately.
Yeah, it's impressive.
So I wonder why he didn't play Randy Jackson, but he played Paul. Whatever, I don't know. I don't know the answer for that. Oh well, I just another mystery to put down in your notepads, folks. Remind us later.
It has been. Can I just say it's been hot as hell here?
Where, in wrestling or in North Carolina?
No, not in wrestling. No, in North Carolina.
A little. I'm mainly inside, so I don't care. You have to understand, I'm from the north, and I'm moving back to the north in a couple weeks. So I don't like hot. I like cool. My favorite times of year are spring and fall. Fall mainly because it's like 50, like long sleeves, and I have a nice like North Face thin coat to wear, and it's wonderful, just wonderful.
Yeah, fall is a good season. Winter may be my favorite season. Winter and fall are my two favorite seasons for sure. Yeah. Summer is my least favorite. It's just too fucking hot here.
Yeah, it is. North Kakalaki. I'm leaving. That's why. Among other things. If you want to know why I'm leaving, you can tweet me at Fisher Wrestling. Yeah.
Oh, we can just spare him and tell him it was because of me.
Yes, I am the Vince Russo to his Jim Cornette. A lot mental abuse. Okay, so
I'm gonna bash your head in, and I hope you hang yourself in your closet. Did you hear that?
Yeah, I retweeted you actually. So tell him the lowdown. Jim Cornette basically threatened Vince Russo with no warning because he's an attention grabbing whore that's bored.
Yeah, I just don't get it. Jim Cornette loves the attention. He loves poking the bear and, stirring shit up, basically, for lack of a better term. And yeah, he had already had this discussion with Vince Russo. This is something that they have, talked out and battled about 100 times over. There was really nothing left to say at this point. But out of the blue, here comes Jim Cornette. And he had at least a good hour on his podcast, it seemed like, burying Vince Russo and talking about fantasizing about bashing his head in the next time he saw him with a foreign object, and saying he wished he would hang himself in his closet. It was rather disturbing. And I think Jim's a rather angry guy.
Well, yeah, because he's fat, ugly, and lonely. But what I was going to say was that I bet you $1,000 if they were to ever see each other again, Jim wouldn't even go 10 feet near Vince because he's a coward. And, if he ever listens to this, yeah, he's a coward. And if he were ever come near me and put his hands on me, things would happen. For legality purposes, we're not going to say what. So you guys can imagine for yourself. But hey, I did figure out my open. I was going to say it's an exclusive episode of the Voices podcast because everything's
exclusive. Yeah, that's really important. You put exclusive in big letters and make people believe it's important, and nobody else has the story.
You're right. Honestly, I've been warm, and we've said some things on the show before. I've been warming up to Justin LaBar lately. He's been saying a lot of smart things. He's been saying, no. In all honesty, I mean, the tweet of the week that Gary put down is really like cool. But I think a better one was mine, and for good reason, because what?
I just have to ask: are you kissing Justin LeBar's ass because you're moving back to Pittsburgh?
No, not at all.
Okay, I just want to be clear.
No, why would I? It's sweet relief for me because he's a Capitals fan. I'm a Penguins fan, and he's been taking pictures with the Stanley Cup, and sucks to suck. So I kind of feel bad. I have empathy for them because I know how it feels. For 21 out of my 23 years of existence, the Penguins were not cup winners, and for the Capitals, they're cup winners because they can't win one. They've only been to one, I believe, 1996. They lost to Detroit. If I'm not mistaken. But yeah, I tweeted. This should have been the tweet of the week. I tweeted that Dean Ambrose wrestled 9 times last week. 9. Your golden boy, Stephanie's adopted child that she truly resents because she couldn't get. Nah, that's not real, but the metaphor fits. 9 times in 1 week, and I'm like, no wonder people get hurt. And he replied back to me with a real poignant observation that Arn Anderson believes that the more you're in the ring, the less you get hurt. Well,
and Arn Anderson's also a fucking moron for saying that. Okay, yeah, he did say that on the table for 3, and it was a ridiculous thing to say. It's just not true. The evidence proves otherwise. Mm-hmm. And it's going to get worse with the brand split. You're going to see even more of this because the roster is going to be even more thin, and there's going to be even more reliance on the top guys of each brand. So I think you're going to see more of the same.
Yeah, 9 times in 1 week. 9. And a wrestling match is, and I'm going to go on a limb and say it's close to like half of a football game. 1/2 for the running back. Because you're not constantly being hit. You're not constantly being slammed down. I feel like that's the best example I can give. So that's 1/2 of football every night. 9 times in 1 week. Are you kidding? It's an abomination. Their desperation is limitless, and it's gonna end up. Dean Ambrose will get hurt by the end of this year. I am guaranteeing that.
Yeah, let's hope not. I mean, they just have to do a better job of protecting their most valued guys, and I mean that in a booking sense, and I mean that in a working sense. Not making them work 9 times in a week. Yeah. So anyway, with that being said, let's hit the music and go to my tweet of the week.
It's not even like, why? You're just being an 80s mark is what you're being. There were a lot of better tweets out there this week.
Oh, no.
Yes, there were.
There was only one tweet that was music to my ears that put a smile on my face.
He spelled hello wrong.
And simply put, that was at real Bobby Heenan saying, hello, humanoids. He's back. Bobby Heenan is on Twitter, and I'm fired up.
Honestly, if this keeps him alive, fine. So how old is Heenan? And he's in his late 60s, is he not? Early 70s?
Yeah, he's definitely in that range. He's not in the best health by any stretch of the imagination, but when you go back into wrestling history, he's the greatest manager of all time to me. Him and Gorilla were arguably the greatest commentary team of all time. He's just, Bobby Heenan was such an incredible mind for the business and such an incredible asset to the business. And I'm not even sure that a lot of fans realize that. I mean, he's so amazing.
It's funny.
I was glad to see.
How many of the greatest minds in wrestling history got pushed out of wrestling? So specifically World Wrestling Entertainment. So how did Heenan leave the company? Do you remember?
How did he leave WWF?
Yes.
Well, he ended up getting an offer at WCW.
Okay.
He was one of the people when they had that big jumping of the ship that left the company.
With like,
And he made big money in WCW.
was it with Medusa whenever she jumped ship, or before that?
It was around that time. I don't remember exactly offhand.
Okay.
But he made the commentary a lot better. I mean, he even in the later stages of his career there in WCW, he was just great. I mean, you just have to go back and watch some of his work. AWA, WWF. It's really great stuff.
But so he left because of contractual reasons. Jim Ross, who I believe is one of the best of all time as far as wrestling minds, was pushed out. You have Paul Heyman, who was pushed out because he's back, but he doesn't do any creative. He was pushed out. Vince Russo, granted, the guy is a maniac, is smart. He's a good booker. He knows what he's talking about. He was pushed out. I'm starting to see a theme here. Is it that people know? Okay, so is it Vince knows they're smarter than him and he can't take it?
Well, I think it's Vince's way or the highway, ultimately.
We're gonna find out why it's starting to have the trickle down effect to the up and coming. And you highlighted on your Twitter very in a very detailed way that's the way it's going. So it wasn't just Vince. Yeah, think about that. Jim Ross and Paul Heyman were pushed out of the company. Two of the top 5 greatest minds on all of wrestling were pushed out. And if you want to be frank, no, Frank's not included, but if you want to be candid, CM Punk, in my opinion, has one of the greatest minds of wrestling of all time. And he was pushed out too. So,
yeah, well,
from a wrestler standpoint, of course. But either way, speaking of Monday Night Raw,
let's talk some Raw.
Yeah, let's talk Raw. Started off with a bang. Seriously. Roman Reigns, and this is the hit or miss portion of the show. Feel free to join along. And you know what? Here's something. Whenever you all listen to this, tweet back if you said hit or miss. I think that'd be kind of fun. At the VOTV podcast, at Fisher Wrestling, you know the drill. So WWE incorporating Roman Reigns' real life wellness policy suspension into the storyline. I fucking love it.
Yeah, I mean,
Seth's promo was great.
So I was on the fence about this.
What did you like? What did you not like? You had to have liked a little bit of it.
I liked them addressing the elephant in the room because I felt like with him being gone for essentially 30 of 33 days, leading into the pay-per-view, they had to do something. And they couldn't put him on TV, right? So you have to do something to explain his absence. And the information is out there. So it's the reality era, right? So give it some reality, I guess, and make it part of the story. So I understood that part. I had no problem with that per se. It was very interesting. I'll say that. But the thing that carries with that is, so the way Seth kind of talked about it, it kind of left fans to wonder what he was suspended for. He just kind of, he said it was a wellness policy violation. And, I've got to be honest, when fans first hear that, a lot of fans may think steroids, even though that very clearly could not have been the case here. That's what a lot of casual viewers are going to think. They're going to think wellness policy violation. They're going to think what you would typically hear of or referred to as performance-enhancing drugs in sports and athletics. And so that kind of didn't do them any favors in that regard. I thought it didn't make sense to have Seth talk about how he was going to go off script, which I thought was great, kind of. You don't want to get too inside information, but the problem with that entire thing was all of the tweets of Roman Reigns' apology and everything else was already right there on the Titantron for everybody to see. So that immediately tells you that if he's going off script and he's doing something he's not supposed to do, and then they've already got this prepared graphic on the Titantron He's clearly not going off script, so
Yeah, why
no
did
logic
people think
there.
he was shooting there?
Yeah, so that was it, didn't make sense for me. I also thought that they really positioned Seth as a heel here. They really tried to position him as a heel, trying to almost essentially give Roman Reigns sympathy, which the fans totally were not buying.
No, and that'll lead into a rumor that I think that's on our agenda about Roman. Uh, let's see. Yeah, I like the segment personally. Dean came in, it was great. Steph ended up coming in, putting the kibosh on all of that. But for the most part, I was a big proponent of this, and I liked the length of it. It put Dean over even more. So there's that.
Yeah, I didn't think it did really. I mean, okay, so Dean's hit or miss Dean's scripted lines where he defends Roman Reigns.
How do you think it was scripted? Not that it wasn't or it was. I'm just asking. I mean, how do you know that it was?
It was very obvious based on the language he was using. This was a Vince McMahon scripted line, a couple of lines actually. And it came off so bad to the crowd, and I'm sure it came off really bad to the fans watching on TV as well. The crowd didn't boo, they didn't react. I mean, it was just kind of like really, really sacrificing Ambrose's spot again for Reigns' benefit. That's really what it felt like to me.
Well, maybe
they don't need essentially this segment was to kind of let everyone know that he screwed up and kind of humiliate him a bit, but also talk about how, these kind of mistakes happen, whatever, let's move on, and really kind of position Seth Rollins as a heel for criticizing him for it. So that kind of goes into what we'll talk about later with where this could be going.
Yeah. That's why I'm fairly positive that it's going to work out for the better. Paige and Sasha versus Dana and Charlotte. Paige, Sasha, and Charlotte were phenomenal. Dana was Dana, unfortunately. I liked it. Nothing wrong with it whatsoever.
Yeah, nobody really cared about this match. It was a total miss for me. Dana is absolutely terrible. She has no business on the main roster wrestling in matches. She's a complete amateur and belongs in NXT.
Yikes, not to be critical.
Oh, I call it like I see it. That's my opinion. Like it or not.
She just seems uncomfortable with Charlotte. When she was with Emma, they did good stuff. But when you take someone out of their comfort zone, they have to react, and she's not reacting the right way. That's the problem. This next one's kind of funny. Enzo and Cass in a jobber squash match. They just crushed two locals. Why were they? When do baby faces get squash matches? When does a babyface tag team get a squash match that isn't heel? And on top of that, I don't. Why wasn't that for Gallows and Anderson? Why didn't they get the squash match? They needed more. I don't know. This is just, it was weird. I did not expect it, even a little.
Yeah, I mean, it was a hit for me. I'm a proponent of bringing back squash matches.
I am too.
To build talent and teams up going into a feud, making them look strong. And yeah, I had no problems with it at all.
Oh, so you mean Roman's been in squash matches up to his title win at Mania last year? Because that was all to make him look strong, right?
Yeah, strong style, yeah.
Okay, and now the social outcast boner jokes. I know you hated it because you hate fun, but I was laughing so hard. I was LOLing all over the place.
I mean, this was probably great if you're 15.
Or 23 like me and actually have a sense of humor. They're boner jokes. Laugh a little bit.
It was like trying too hard, and it kept going on with the same line over and over. It was just kind of stupid. Again, what demographic are they going for here? The average 40-year-old male that watches the show, or the children that they're gearing this product towards? Who was the audience in that? It certainly was neither, in my opinion.
Well, they don't know. They don't know. It's as easy as that. Demon Kane and the Miz. I know how you feel. It was nice to see Glenn back on TV, the devil's favorite insurance agent, which was a great line. That was beautiful.
I will have no problems if I never see Demon Kane on TV again. At this point, he's just kind of, I think, tarnishing his legacy of his character. I thought he looked terrible. I thought his look was pretty bad. I thought his in-ring work was just atrocious. It was totally boring and pointless. And
the best part of the match was Maurice selling that ankle injury.
I thought that was stupid too. Look, I think the Miz and Maurice have been great. So kudos to. I have no issues with anything they did. I just thought the writing was terrible. Like, Kane looked terrible. The crowd died during this match. They pretty much expected Finn Balor, whether they thought, whether you thought it was going to happen or not. Everybody knew he was in the building.
Yeah.
And they, wrong demon, obviously, right? The ending made no sense. I mean, the ending where she just kind of like fakes an ankle injury out of the blue, and the Miz just leaves, and it was like over in like 2 minutes, and it was there was just no point in it, and all of a sudden she's just laughing because it was phony. And I mean, I just thought it was really poorly written. Of course, the Miz and Maurice are great, but Kane is he's awful right now. It's time for him to hang it up.
You're jealous.
Kane's had a great career. I mean, the guy has been a cornerstone of the company. He's had a very successful long career. I'm a big fan
Hall
of
of Fame.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of his work in his prime, but geez, this stuff lately with him has just been so bad.
We'll see. Yeah, but Finn Balor was not debuting. Sorry, boys and girls. I could have told you that one. Was never going to happen. So we have the New Day and the Wyatt family. The New Day knocked it out of the park with their intro. That was so funny. It was simple yet spectacular. They were great. Their promo was great. They're not letting Kofi say skeet anymore because Vince probably Googled it. Or no, Vince probably asked Jeeves, which isn't even around anymore. And he found out what that meant, so he stopped. And Wyatt came out and was awesome. Really putting realism into it. I think they're the ones that are going to win the tag titles over the New Day and have Xavier turn and join them because Luke Harper's still out with his torn ACL. I have a lot of hope for this feud.
I really don't. I mean, at first I thought, I was like, okay, they came out, dressed as the Wyatt family, and it kind of reminded me of the whole, DX and Nation of Domination.
And it was amazing.
I thought that was cool, but I really thought it was not very well written. I wasn't a big fan of the writing, and
Xavier's acting has been off the charts.
Oh yeah, he's been an absolute bright spot in it. As far as Xavier, you can tell his facials. He's looking like he is nervous. He's afraid. He's unsure. He's been spot on. He's been great. No doubt about that. So, but overall, I haven't liked it. I thought it wasn't the right feud for them, and the writing hasn't been great. And frankly, I'm very bored by Bray's promos. They just feel like the same babbling crap repeatedly over and over.
But see, here's the thing. If they actually were booked to win, it wouldn't seem that way.
Well, I mean, would have, could have, should have, right?
Yeah.
If I had $50 million, I'd be a multimillionaire.
Yeah, well, yeah, you would. Xavier's been amazing. I love it. But I can listen to Bray talk all day, and it's a subjective art form. But I love how his intonation and like the way he delivers his promos. Like I could listen to him all the time. But hopefully, I mean, the New Day needs to lose. Period. They need to lose. I just don't know how yet. But they don't have a lot of time.
I don't. Yeah, well, I just don't want to see Xavier Woods turn and become part of the Wyatts. I think that'll just be stupid. I really do. I wouldn't be a fan of that at all.
It worked. Okay, so I know I'm comparing, a legend to a wrestler here, but it worked for Daniel Bryan. Got one of the biggest face pops in the last 10 years.
Yeah, it was also a giant flop, and that's why he got a face pop because they had to switch him back immediately.
Yeah, I know. But hey, it happened.
Yeah, it was not good, but yeah, yeah. I mean, I just don't see the benefit, especially considering what they do with the Wyatts. But whatever, it's all right. It's fine.
And last but not least, I'll clump up Cena and Rollins this match, which was also very good, and Dean Ambrose and AJ Styles. What did you think of those two matches? Cena and Rollins never disappoint. They were on point, and Cena did sell finally. That was cool.
I thought it was, yeah, Cena and Rollins was very good. I thought it was a great idea to give Seth Rollins a pinfall victory.
I know, right? Yeah, that was good. That was good. He needed that, and Dean and AJ was good too.
Dean and AJ was a very good match. My only gripe with that is I don't think these two have faced off before in a one-on-one match.
I don't think they have either.
So why give this away on free TV at 11 p.m. at night?
Because not everyone. Well, it doesn't matter what happens outside the WWE. So,
I mean, this is like a pay-per-view caliber match. The first time they're meeting, they could have, when the brand split comes. I mean, this is something they could do if they were on the same brand. I mean, it's just. I'm not a big fan of giving away big matches, or WrestleMania level matches, as they've been calling them lately. I'm not a big fan of giving those away on free TV. I'm just not. So yeah, but finally, maybe they'll stop this stupid bullshit of, Cena and Styles, 15 years in the making. John Cena was in the WWE as of 14 years ago. Okay, stop insulting everybody's intelligence and saying this is 15 years in the making. AJ Styles was a nobody. John Cena was a nobody. Let's just call it what it is.
Hey, 15 sounds better than 14.
Yeah.
just like how 93,000 sounds better than 76,000.
Yeah.
Because it's all part of the show. It doesn't actually matter.
It's all entertainment.
Don't kid yourself. But I thought Raw was pretty good. I had a good time with it.
I thought it was all right.
Yeah, it was all right. The ratings were 2-2-1, down from a 2-4. I want to see him hit the threes. When they hit the threes, I'll be comfortable.
Yeah, I mean, I guess we'll see. We'll see. It's going to take them some time, and frankly, in a lot of ways, I think they're coasting until the brand split. Especially if you look at SmackDown. I mean, that show has no effort put into it whatsoever. It's just totally pathetic. It's not even watchable. I really hope they give it the attention it deserves with the brand split.
Yeah, I hope so too. You're not alone. All right. So some news and notes from around the world. Let's get into some more recent stuff. Clash of Champions was confirmed September 24th, 25th in St. Louis. The high pitched part of my voice because I'm guessing, but I do know it was confirmed though. That's legitimate. What do you think of Clash of Champions coming back? Do you think it's going to be a SmackDown versus Raw champion?
Clash of the Champions, I believe, is going to be a Raw show.
Really? Okay.
Yeah,
I'm
I believe that's going to be a Raw pay-per-view. Yeah, I mean, I wish they would call it Clash of the Champions because that was the actual name, not Clash of Champions, as they're calling it. But yeah, whatever.
It's cool to see back.
It's cool to see back, yeah. Well, why can't you call it by the fucking actual name? But anyway,
just
a little nitpick.
I know. Well, 1 year it was the Bash and not the Great American Bash. But whatever. Tomato, potato. Hideo Itami just returned at NXT Winter Haven. Breaking news, folks. Breaking. Exclusive.
Exclusive.
He is back, though. which is great.
Only on ProWrestlingShit.com.
Wrestling journalism is real. Yeah, so Hideo Itami. It'll be cool to see Kenta back in the ring. Very cool. So a couple interesting comments from Brock Lesnar this afternoon.
My God.
They were doing UFC 203 presser, and he doesn't give a, or UFC 200 presser. He's not giving a fuck. And I love when Brock doesn't give a shit. He talked about, he was responding to steroid allegations. He says, "I'm a white boy and I'm jacked. Deal with it." Quote of the week.
I think he stole my line.
Yeah. He had talked about Stephanie McMahon's comments towards his UFC fight, which, if for those of you who live under a rock at the bottom of the sea, they are not supporting his fight. They're just letting him do it. It was not in the contract, if I'm not mistaken, that he signed back in January. Brock Lesnar responded, "I don't care what she says." And on top of that, let me, 1 second. There was a more extensive comment by Brock. And while I look up that,
I was just going to say that was essentially referring to how does this affect his character if he loses at UFC 200.
Oh, yeah.
And he said he didn't give a shit.
Yeah.
You know what? And that pissed me off because you know what? I would take this guy back and I would job the fuck out of him. I would make him lose every week on Superstars to Heath Slater until he quits. Fuck him.
I wouldn't. That's Lesnar's not giving into their shit. Who cares? Okay? So you have to. What's the term that you have to do? Suspend reality. Brock Lesnar is a badass. He's real. He's not. I don't think 97% of wrestlers could last in any UFC fight more than 10 seconds. So, and Brock was a former heavyweight champion, mind you. So Brock can say it because he can. Okay, Rey Mysterio can't say this shit. So there's a big difference here.
Yeah, I hated it. I just,
I love it. I loved it. Let him be himself. He's an asshole. Let him be that.
Boy, he is an asshole.
Don't have him go and say, well, but golly gee, my main event standing in World Wrestling Entertainment's gonna falter if Mark Hunt beats me on Saturday. That's stupid. Just stupid.
Well, why not say I'm not worried about that? Why say, I don't give a shit? I mean, it's just like there's no loyalty to the WWE or the fans. That'll come out. I really thought he came across really poor with some of those remarks.
Well, it's honestly, who gives a fuck what Steph says? All right, so you have to agree with him there. And like, so what? Just so what? I don't know. I loved what Brock said. I'm all for it. Okay, so we have a good bit to get through. Let's hammer this down. Vader and Will Ospreay wrestling August 12th at York Hall. Revolution Pro Wrestling in the UK has booked it finally. We want it to be a shoot. It won't be, but you better know damn well Will Ospreay is winning that match. he's
yeah.
Vader's,
you know what?
Vader's gonna do the job for $5,000
if he shows up. Yeah, I mean, if he shows up, but yeah, no. Look, I'd love to see Vader shoot on him a little bit. Just
like how? What do you want him
to
do?
Just watch Ospreay squirm a little as he can't get out of holds.
Will Ospreay's a hell of a wrestler. I like Will Ospreay.
Well, yes, he is a good in-ring worker. Yes, he's a good fake fighter.
Yeah.
Okay. That's great. There's more to the sport than that. That's great. He's about 190 pounds soaking wet. Maybe he should gain some weight.
Oh, well, then he should go to WWE.
Vader, I'm telling you right now, I would put money today on Vader at 61 years old in a shoot against Will Ospreay.
Maybe. Depends on how much money the bet is.
Not a lot, but I would put some.
Yeah. Well, it's funny because then Scott Hall was tweeting Mark Madden and said that, oh, well, now that we can just start a Twitter feud and get an angle going. Hey, Big Kev, What are the Young Bucks doing? I'm like, good, make
Wow.
20 grand and go home again.
I can tell you what the Young Bucks are doing. They're going around to indies in front of 50 fucking fans and super kicking little 9-year-olds and marking and stroking each other's dicks off, and everybody's having a giggly, fun old time.
You're not a fan of the Young
Fucking
Bucks?
joke. Oh no, I love the Young Bucks. I kid the Young Bucks.
They're super kicking. Yeah, they're super kicking babies now. There's a reason the Young Bucks are not in World Wrestling Entertainment is because they look like Paul London and Brian Kendrick. It's the truth. It's the truth, and the only reason Kendrick's back in the company is because he trained their redheaded stepchild Eva Marie to make her look like not a complete fool in the ring, and that he's in the cruiserweight tournament.
Yeah, and have you seen Kendrick in the cruiserweight tournament? The guy looks like he has a meth problem. I mean, I'm not even joking. He looks absolutely fucking terrible.
Like, as far as working goes?
No, he actually looks like he is a meth head.
Oh, well,
I mean, he's probably that's. I'm not saying he's on meth. I'm not saying he's on drugs. I'm just saying take a look at the guy and then you tell me.
He might. You never know.
He looks a little rough.
Yeah, he does. The WWE abandoned the Balor Club trademark. This comes the same day that Balor tweeted a picture at the Raw stage and then deleted it and then tweeted hashtag Balor Club forever. I think this is a clear sign that they're not going to go with Balor Club at all, and he's going to be an individual and be caught up at the draft. That's it.
Yeah, this is an epic fail. I want money back on the T-shirt I bought. I'm still a little salty about that. You know, they really squandered this opportunity. I don't understand what they were thinking here. You know, so I guess the best thing they can do is just bring Finn Balor up and job him out to Baron Corbin.
Yeah. Hey, speaking of Baron Corbin, was he on Raw this past week?
He wasn't. He was on Main Event instead, and he was in a squash match. I mean, he beat Jack Swagger and won, but what a stupid fucking idea. Here's a new guy. He wins the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal, okay? You have him in a long feud with Dolph Ziggler, which he does eventually go over after months. And then he's just not on TV because they don't know what to do with him because there's absolutely no fucking plan for these new guys. It's a total joke. I mean, Apollo Crews is a good example of that. And they just flounder in a sea of big fish and they don't gain any traction or momentum. And they're just another guy. It's so stupid.
Maybe there's too many cooks in the kitchen.
There's too many McMahons in the kitchen.
Yeah. Speaking of, in an interview with Business Insider, we kind of talked about this already a little bit. Stephanie talked about the WWE having an advantage over UFC's product. And she says, and I quote, UFC, they can make a big star, but the second that person loses, they lose credibility. And how do you continue to make that star rise? So I think WWE has the best of both worlds in that opportunity to tell those stories in the way we want to tell them, unquote. So here's what she doesn't realize because she doesn't actually watch UFC. I've watched more UFC in the last year than she has in her entire life, and I've only watched 2 pay-per-views. I used to watch every pay-per-view religiously for 6 years in a row, so I know what I'm talking about. Anderson Silva has lost 3 times in the UFC, yet his star power is still intact. He's a pay-per-view headliner. Conor McGregor lost once to Nick Diaz, and he's still a headliner, main eventer. Ronda Rousey still a headliner, main eventer. For years, Rampage Jackson, he'd lose every now and then, didn't hurt his credibility one bit. Chuck Liddell, Randy Couture, Randy Savage. Well,
Tito Ortiz.
Yes. Trying to think of some more. Rashad Evans. Did I say Lyoto Machida? If I didn't, there you go. Michael Bisping. George St. Pierre hasn't fought in 3 years, and he has more star power than half the roster of the World Wrestling Entertainment. Stephanie is absolutely wrong. She's guessing completely.
Well, here was the funny thing about this to me, right? The whole irony of all of it is Stephanie McMahon is sitting there telling you that they have the advantage over UFC because The second they lose credibility, right?
Yeah.
And so WWE has the ability to tell a story the way they want to. And she's talking about UFC, and she's got a guy on her roster going to fight in UFC in a shoot who may lose and return to the roster, as she says, with no fucking credibility.
Yeah. So I think they think Lesnar's going to win, but he might not. Mark Hunt is a good fighter. Fought for the belt. He's no joke. He's no Mickey Gall. Okay. I don't know. Mark Madden seems to think that they know that Lesnar will win, or else they wouldn't have let him do this. I don't think that's true at all. I think they're guessing and thinking he'll win. I mean, shit. They don't watch UFC. They don't. It's a fact. The only reason they knew who Ronda Rousey was is because she was in a movie. You're telling me they don't watch UFC? There's no way. No way. Anyway, Stephanie McMahon guessed.
Speaking of UFC, your boy CM Punk says
he's right.
He would consider wrestling again one day, but never for WWE.
He's still going to return. I'm calling it. I will stand on top of a mountain and say I was right the entire time. He will come back eventually. Money does talk. And even though in his podcast, well, Colt Cabana said that money isn't everything, bullshit. Bullshit.
Yeah, people say that money can't buy happiness. Well, give me $50 and watch me smile.
Wasn't that that was a Bobby Heenan tweet? You read that.
There you go. Yes. I've got the gears working in your brain. That's excellent.
Yeah. So no, Punk will come back eventually, because when someone's going to offer him $50 million, he will not say no. Because that's what it'd be worth to have a main event with him at Mania. Anyway, yeah, he told Colin Cowherd and Russillo and somebody else on ESPN Radio different things, called WWE treating their talent like indentured servants, running them into the ground. Look, is he wrong? I don't think so.
Well, Dean Ambrose just worked 9 times in a week.
Yeah. Did he get paid extra?
No, and actually, as we get into the Batista interview that we're going to discuss near the end of the show, I think what Batista says actually supports what CM Punk is saying.
Yeah. But why do you think Dave would come back, but Phil won't? Yeah, he was in the first names. Fuck you guys. Interesting.
I think I think Phil feels like he's done everything he can in WWE, and he's so bitter about the company and the way they've treated him, and I just think he doesn't want to be a part of that company anymore
until $50 million comes up. But the Batista interview was amazing, truly amazing. Roman Reigns was forced to apologize in the locker room. Has said that Triple H is extremely disappointed in him. Well, fuck, he should be. And by the way, the rumor is that Roman took amphetamines, a B-amphetamine.
Yeah, so first of all, there's actually conflicting reports on whether or not he was forced to apologize. The story came out that he was forced to apologize by Dave Meltzer. And now there's other information saying that's not true. So, pick a straw.
That was a 5-star rebuttal.
Yeah. But that's the rumor, is that it was an amphetamine, which could mean he's popping a Molly and sweating woo, or he's just taking something simple like a fat burner, an amphetamine. So it could be not very much a big deal at all. Now, Chris Jericho recently said on his Talk is Jericho podcast that pretty much what Roman Reigns did is something that would be legal anywhere else. So it would lead you to believe that Jericho is pretty much implying he did something that was completely legal, which means it wouldn't be something illegal like a hard drug, a steroid, etc. So it was kind of an interesting statement by Chris Jericho. So
children's Tylenol.
Yeah.
But I think Why didn't Roman apologize on his own? You know, if he's the man of the locker room at 27, the fuck? Why didn't he do it on his own? Why did he have to be forced to apologize? You know? And there's the thing. He will never be John Cena because John Cena isn't an idiot.
Well, and John Cena can wrestle with his shirt off. That's why he's taking those fat burners, you see. He's got to take off the vest eventually.
You're right. You're right. It'll be like a butterfly flying out of a cocoon, one that's filled with lust and illegalities.
Vince McMahon's semen. Oh, sorry.
That's what holds the vest and shirt together.
It's very sticky.
A little bit. So PW Torch is reporting, speaking of, Vince wants to tell the redemption story of Roman Reigns. Listen, and then he thinks that'll get Roman over finally. I'll tell you what, if they get enough sympathy and he runs the gauntlet of the entire company and earns a shot week after week after week, maybe. But aside from that, this fucker isn't going to be a babyface anytime soon, especially after he disappointed the fans.
His hair is very wet.
Yeah. Good, isn't it? Yeah. So the road to redemption for Roman Reigns.
I think it would be an epic fail if they actually did that. I think they're doing him a huge disservice if they bring him back as a baby face at Battleground. I really do. I think now's the time, more so than ever, to pull the trigger on him being a heel. And look, it's going to lead to a big babyface turn eventually.
Yeah.
It makes sense. You know, you've been trying to get this guy over as your top star for over 2 fucking years. You haven't done a good job of it. And you know what? Maybe it's time to try something different. Because this story of him overcoming odds, and in this story of him having bad things happen to him, for him to overcome them, it's just not working. They keep telling the same story. It's not working. And they need to try something different. It's like the definition of insanity here. So I hope they return and he comes in as a heel. We'll see. You know, maybe he gets a chance of drug stuff. You never know.
Yeah, I know. Even if it was marijuana, by the way, that's only a fine, not a suspension.
Yeah. Now I had heard he had been fined for that, but that has nothing to. Yeah, but that has nothing to do with the suspension. Yeah, it's just like a $2,500 fine.
And to him, that's pennies.
Yeah, he's probably missing out on about $100,000 for his 30-day suspension. So
maybe, absolutely, no pay. Jimmy Snuka, who was deemed unfit to stand trial for the murder of his girlfriend, is confirmed to be at WrestleCon. I smell fraud from a mile away.
This was unbelievable. What were your thoughts on this?
Well, I mean, why do you think Tamina's not on camera anymore? Besides being an average wrestler at best,
she's been injured, but
I know.
But you know, I mean, it's. I don't understand how this is a good move for anybody.
It's
not.
If you're mentally unfit to stand a trial, why are you mentally fit to go to a convention with thousands of people, risking heart or health risking your health and other unforeseen events that can happen? It's dangerous and it's stupid, and it could lead to fraudulent possibilities.
Yeah, someone said on Twitter, is having a little bit of class dead when they found out about this? And I said, no, that's Jimmy Snuka's ex.
Oh.
Yeah, she's the dead one. She said, well, you know, speaking of good taste, and I was thinking, well, what does cannibalism have to do with it? He didn't eat her. Come on.
He didn't. I hope not. I hope not.
Oh, that was a rough one.
Well, I don't know. This is really stupid. I mean, let's let the man die in peace in his house because he's not going to be around much longer, and he's a murderer. Sorry, he just is. And I don't want to hear the whole innocent until proven guilty bullshit. OJ is still innocent, right, everyone? So is Joe Paterno. Wait, Joe Paterno's dead. Sandusky's in jail for life. Cosby's going there. Ray Lewis did murder that person. The tuxedo did fit. Dare I say more?
You got to put the penis in the pudding pop.
Okay. All right. On to Batista. Speaking of dicks, his dick is huge, apparently. That's the rumor. That's the hot scoop from Meltzer.
He gives it 5 stars.
He does. He normally he gives Peter. This is just Batista's schlong. So now we have closure as to what Meltzer truly likes.
Oh, this show's going downhill quick.
Hey, just like the WWE's reputation. So you were the whole mind behind the Batista thing. I'll let you take the reins on this one. Just don't get fined and suspended doing it. Get it?
Yeah, try not to. All right, so I just want to kind of talk about Batista's interview, part 1 and part 2, and then get your thoughts, John. So Dave Batista dropped a Batista bomb on WWE in an interview with MLW Radio's Writers Room podcast with former WWE SmackDown head writer Alex Greenfield. I'm going to tell you some of the highlights of what Dave had to say to Alex, and he held nothing back. And then I'd like to get some of your thoughts. So Batista talks about the WWE being a grind, how things constantly change. And if you complain, you're not employed. He actually said that helped prepare him for Hollywood. He said he does enjoy having the 2 fan bases, such as the movies and the WWE. And it feels really great to know he could go back to wrestling anytime he wants. He talks about his first night back in WWE during his latest run. And how they wanted him to do this goofy group thing with all these other people in the ring. That seems to be one of the things they love to do is these goofy group segments. He asked Vince for just 5 minutes alone with the fans first to reintroduce himself to the audience, and they didn't even want to do that. So Batista says it was a real struggle from the very beginning in his latest run in WWE. What are your thoughts on that?
I'm not surprised. For one, I know that Batista wanted to be a heel when he came back, but Vince was like, no, you're I don't know. He's not a baby face.
Yeah. I mean, Batista says Vince wanted to shove him down people's throats as a baby face, and it just got worse. And unfortunately, the fans resented him, more for being there. He felt like he got blamed by fans for CM Punk leaving in WWE.
How is that even the case?
Well, Punk was unhappy with a part-timer coming in and winning the Rumble.
Okay, but that wasn't the sole reason why Punk left.
So. No, absolutely not. I don't know if that was a small niche portion of fans that were upset about that. I mean, I think it bothered him, but I never felt like, I never blamed him for CM Punk leaving. So, but obviously he was impacted by it. He said he actually returned in better. He returned and he wanted to be in better ring shape than he was. He said it actually didn't happen because he had an injured Achilles tendon, and he'd be staying away from the weights to look more like an actor. So he actually didn't come back in the best ring shape. And I remember when he actually returned thinking, wow, this guy was getting gassed super quick.
He was. It was really evident too.
Yeah, most definitely. He said he was actually outside of Vince's door every day trying to change how he was being booked. But Vince was convinced the entire time that fans would love him returning as a babyface, even as they rejected him.
Out of touch.
I mean, completely out of touch. Does that not sound familiar? Over and over.
I'm not surprised, though. That's the difference.
No, yeah. I mean, it's clearly a pattern.
He like Roman Reigns, Seth Rollins.
Go back to John Cena. It was even John Cena was the same way. I mean, it's a clear pattern here with Vince McMahon for sure. He said he'd wanted to return for years and actually stayed a month longer than he was supposed to. He had to leave to promote the Guardians of the Galaxy movie, but he stayed a month over because he was so unsatisfied with his return, which was very telling. He was not satisfied with that run.
I wouldn't
He
have been
wanted
either.
this was a big scoop here. He still wanted to come back and do something at SummerSlam. At the time, Guardian of the Galaxy was coming out. And he talked to Triple H and Stephanie McMahon and said, wouldn't it be great if I was back and was also in the #1 movie in the world? And they both snickered at him. And Triple H said, quote, we don't even know if the movie's going to be good, unquote.
Hold on. Hold that thought. Actually, you know what? Say what you were gonna say, and I have something good. And it isn't a clip or an audio clip.
Batista said it was very uncomfortable in the moment where Stephanie and Triple H were doubting him and laughing in his face. And I can't say I blame him.
I'm trying to look up right now. Okay. This is according to cinemablend.com. If I can get some numbers. And this is
I mean, let's while you're looking at that, let's just remind everybody that Triple H was in the fucking Chaperone movie, the WWE produced Chaperone movie, which probably did $5 in sales. I mean, this is ridiculous.
Okay, so this was as of 2 years ago. And I'm trying to see, it didn't give an actual date, however. This is from Cinema Blend. And you know what? Fuck Cinema Blend. 1 year ago, so I guess 2015, so about a year after its release. The numbers ran in at the time of this article's publication. Guardians of the Galaxy has passed the $500 million mark globally. The film got off to a huge record-setting start at the beginning of the month with a $94 million opening. And even though it has been in theater for 26 days, it still sits at the #1 spot on the top 10.
It was a huge movie. It was a huge success. He's in part 2 coming out. I mean, it's propelled his career. I mean, he's a movie star now. And he tried, because he actually loves pro wrestling and loves WWE, and he's loyal to them. He actually fucking tried to go back to them and make it work so that they would look great having a top movie star on their product. And they snickered, they laughed in his face and joked. Basically, we don't even know if this movie's going to be good.
Well, they're ignorant fucking assholes is what they are.
You know, it was terrible. And, you know, I think it's just very telling of Paul Levesque and, you know, the work he's done. I'm just not a big fan of that as far as, you know, the non-wrestler, you know, outside of the Triple H, the Paul Levesque person. I'm just not a fan of the way he seems to do business. He seems to be kind of an ego-stroking dickhead. And
not to be critical.
Yeah, not to be critical. That's just my opinion. If you don't like it, tough shit. But, you know, but Batista had a thing for movies anyway. You know, he talked about wanting to do the movies. He talked about being the top guy on SmackDown and John Cena being the top guy on Raw.
Yeah.
And he wanted to get some of those film and commercial opportunities. And he said they were all going to John Cena. And, you know, he wanted some of those opportunities too. He said he was busting his ass while Cena was making a boatload of money doing films, and he felt it was unfair. You know, and financially, and also just for the fact that he's in an even position and not getting the same opportunity. He asked WWE if there was ever an opportunity for him to do films like Cena, and they told him there wasn't, and they had no interest in him doing that. Now, here's a guy who's today a big movie star, and they laughed in his face and then said there was no opportunity for him to even work in a fucking WWE straight to DVD film.
Yeah, I mean, I think Cena's a star in the media and in entertainment. but technically, Batista is a more successful star than John Cena.
Yeah, I mean, it was so telling to me. They just didn't get it. They just didn't see the talent.
It's
So
common.
he had asked them after they weren't willing to give him those opportunities if he could pursue auditioning for movie roles outside of WWE while still working with the company. And he was told, quote, "You're our property. Get your ass on the house shows and get to work," unquote.
Yeah.
And
Positive
so he felt
reinforcement.
he felt it was unfair career-wise and financially. He wasn't okay with it. And so he decided to leave the company. Now, we had talked about the way that CM Punk called them indentured servants and the way the people are run into the ground and treated. I just gave you a quote that really reaffirms that. I mean, it's pretty unbelievable.
Yeah, and people called a Punk a liar and he exaggerated. Uh I don't think he did.
Yeah, I don't think so. He also talked about um, he gave the company almost a year's notice. And even up until his final day, they didn't really think he was leaving. On the night he actually left, very few people even said goodbye, and he was escorted out by security with no one thanking him and saying goodbye. He said he was sad, and it really put things into perspective as to where he stood with WWE. And mind you, his last night was a match against John Cena, and he actually broke his back in the match.
That's amazing.
Yeah, I mean, and he was going to go right into Strikeforce after he left. He was into MMA and was going to sign with Strikeforce, and because he broke his back, those plans had to be delayed, and he ended up having back surgery about a year later. And they didn't care. They didn't care. So it's pretty
So
incredible.
how long before Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn and Dean and Roman and Seth all and Bray, for lack of how long do they deal with it? Or don't they?
I don't know. I don't know. I mean,
Because Cody's gone. Cody would be the smartest man in wrestling. Cody's gone. Sandow's gone. Dolph's gonna be gone. Um, I really can't think of who else right now. But Cody made a statement, man. People don't give him enough credit. And you know what? Batista just reaffirms what Cody said about creative and how they're stifling.
oh yeah, yeah. He was in total don't give a shit mode in this interview. I mean, he talked about Vince McMahon having a struggle with who to make the face of the company. Right, this was like 2005-ish. John Cena was the top guy on Raw. Batista was the top guy on SmackDown. And Vince was even hesitant to give Batista a mic. So they're trying to figure out who's going to be the face of the company. And Alex Greenfield and Court Bauer and even Dusty Rhodes all believe that Batista should be the face of the company at the time.
Over John Cena.
Right. Yes. Vince makes the decision to go with John Cena. And frankly, Batista says that John Cena was willing to say things on the mic that he would refuse to say. He says he likes John and thinks John's good for the company, but again, John is one of those stuck-up, kiss-ass baby faces that says things he would never say. The hokey, cheesy things aren't his personality. The generic babyface promos where you thank the people and say you couldn't have done it without him. He basically feels like, whether you support me or not, I'm going to fucking do it anyway. And that's the way Batista feels, personally. And so, that type of a promo just wasn't him. And Alex Greenfield actually talked about Vince personally writing bad promos for Roman Reigns and John Cena. And Batista just reiterated that Cena's willing to, quote, say shit he just shouldn't say, unquote.
Yeah.
And so for that reason, in the fact that Cena is the all-American guy who's articulate and can do interviews and Good Morning America and all the other talk shows, he says that, hey, Cena should have been the face of the company, not me. So I respect him for being honest there. But a lot of people were in his corner outside of Vince. So I thought that was interesting as well.
There's a lot you learn just by, listening to the actual people inside. We can speculate all day, every day, because we do. But there's nothing better than hearing it from the people inside. It's like war stories. You can hear war stories, till the cows came home, but until you actually hear it from someone that was actually in the war, you don't really know what happened. It's like history, right? You don't really know about history till someone tells it to you. I can listen to a Meltzer Bomb or Lion Alvarez or a LaBar any day, but I'd rather hear it from the wrestlers themselves. Like Cody Rhodes and Sandow, their stories are great. They told them, and it's beautiful. CM Punk told his story, lit up a revolution, and now people just don't give a fuck anymore. Right?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm going to read you a quote from Batista on the audience of today in professional wrestling, and I want to get your thoughts because this is something we've seen come up, time and time again in our podcast and elsewhere. Batista said someone said something to him when he returned that really stuck in his head because the crowd had really changed since he last left. And they said, it's monkey see, monkey do. And they don't really want to watch or participate in the show. They want to be the show. He said it really seemed to be true sometimes. They didn't care what was going on in the ring. They wanted to be the highlight. And Batista says, look, if you want to be the highlight of the show, go to fucking wrestling school, lace up your goddamn boots, take your bumps like everybody else, and go through the steps. But give the performers the respect they deserve. They're out there beating themselves half to hell to entertain you. And he says, look, we're all for interaction, but don't try to steal the show by chanting stuff that has nothing to do with what's going on in the ring. Like JBL.
Yeah.
Or CM Punk. So what are your thoughts on that? Because that's something we've seen. It's become a problem, especially among the smarkiest of fans, the NXT type crowd.
I think that he's right. Honestly, I mean, what else is there to refute as far as the argument? I completely agree with him. Seriously, I don't really know many words because you kind of just put it into perspective. The Raw After Mania crowd started that whole "do what we want" thing, and it was cool at first, and then I think it spiraled out of control. And hey, if a Raw crowd, okay, if the product was good, nothing would be chanted that isn't in the match, or the storyline, or the promo, or whatever. So that's on the WWE. They created that monster and they fed into it.
Yeah. I thought it was very interesting to hear that kind of a thing we've talked about a lot here, even recently, to hear it from a wrestler standpoint. And then one thing, it was kind of funny here, he said as well, he felt like he didn't get enough credit. He talked about how he loved the business. He said, I don't think people ever get this or appreciate it about me. But when I was wrestling, all I wanted to do was wrestle. I didn't want to be an actor. I didn't want to do anything. I just loved entertaining people. I don't think people will ever get this or appreciate it about me. When I was wrestling, all I wanted to do, I wanted to be there. I loved wrestling. I didn't want to sell them cheap t-shirts. I didn't want to. I could care less if they, if I gave them a good match and they were happy with the match. That was it. I just wanted them to be entertained. And here's the shade. I didn't need to come out with 25 fucking wristbands and a different t-shirt every fucking week that I'm trying to shove down their goddamn throats. People will never appreciate that, but it's just because I really love the business. I love storytelling, And I love, giving the fans, making them feel like, it's just, I'm getting my money's worth because this is what I paid to see. This is good shit. Unquote. And so I thought that was funny because that's clearly a reference to like John Cena.
Yeah.
But he's also trying to say like he doesn't feel, he's trying to validate his feelings. He doesn't feel like he gets enough credit or respect from fans. And he's trying to say, hey, I love the business. I'm a big actor. I still love the business. I would still be willing to go back. And this is something that we as fans should cherish. He still loves the business. He still wants it to be successful. And, it's like they dropped the ball this guy in a major way.
They did. And, people suck CM Punk's dick every day, all day. But, as much as I think he loves the business, but he'll deny it to this day. And Batista still likes it, or else he would never even go back. And
yeah, even today,
he'll return one day. I'm sure Batista will come back again.
Well, even after all of that, now personally, I would tell them to go fuck themselves, and I would never return. But
yeah,
he loves the business, and he's clearly willing to go back for the right scenario, even today.
Yep.
So I just hope fans can appreciate that. I mean, I think this could lead to a big babyface turn among the smart fans. I think they'll really, if they listen to this interview on MLW, they'll really begin to appreciate it. Now, part 2 is for VIP subscribers only. However, we just basically gave away what part 2 was about as well. Part 2 is heavily featured around the acting piece, which is totally boring. And it had a few parts about, the face of the company and Batista doing promos, which we've already discussed. So there's your part 2. If you listen to the podcast, the VOTV podcast, you've already got the information, folks. Knowledge is power, and you've got it. You're welcome.
Speaking of that, where can we find you on the Twitter machine?
You can find me pissing people off at the VOTV podcast, Voices of the Voiceless. We are doing really well. We're up to over 1,100 followers. I gain a lot. I piss off a couple and lose a few, and I gain some more. So yeah, follow me. I'll follow you back. I'll talk with you. I'll interact. I'm doing a lot of tweeting about, well, not a lot, but some tweeting about Big Brother now in the U.S.
I watched Big Brother the other day.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, it was the roadkill challenge, and those fuckers were, were doing that driving gimmick.
Yes.
They had to undress and hold the buttons down, and girls in bikinis are awesome. So, and I'm rooting for Brody and Natalie, man. Those two were hot as hell. So, and honestly, the house leader, the house leader gimmick, Caitlin, what's her name?
Yeah.
Who's the head of the household? The blonde.
I'm terrible with names.
Okay, you know who I'm talking about, though, right? The one with glasses.
Yes, I do. It's Nicole.
Nicole, that's it. Yeah, Nicole, Brody, and Natalie are I'm picking all three of them to win, and then triple threat match with the mud pit. We're going.
Yeah, put them in the mud. Let them wrestle. No, look, I can't stand Jose, and I can't stand.
Oh no,
Paul.
he needs super kicked.
Oh, he's so obnoxious. And Paul, the guy with the big bushy black beard.
Yeah, he's a dick. I don't like him.
Yeah. I hope those two go.
The one guy I liked is the guy that won the Roadkill challenge. He's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Paul. His name is Paul. Not Paul.
You're talking about
Charlie?
Frank?
Is it Frank? Frank. That's it.
Yeah. Yeah, he's one of the returning veterans. I mean, he's not a great player, but you know what? I mean,
So you're saying he's not a good player or a bad player?
He's the player. Oh boy, this is and everything circles back to a Roman Reigns reference.
It does. And
how far have we fallen?
He's over, folks. But yeah, you can follow me my exclusive Twitter page at Fisher Wrestling. I'm also over 1,100. Thank you all for that, very, very much. If you, you know what? Fuck it, everyone. If you want to do fan questions, just fucking send us questions. Damn it, we can't do fan questions without questions. So send in your questions. I think I covered it. Follow my Facebook page at Wrestling News Hub. We're up to 77,000 likes now and climbing every day. So make it happen. Looking to get to 100K by SummerSlam. Starting to do the YouTube thing at the Hub HQ. I'll be posting videos there starting July 18th, and I'll be doing more Twitch streaming, wrestling. So do follow there as well at the Hub HQ, and it'll be a lot of fun. It'll be a lot of fun.
And that's what it's all about, having a lot of fun. Just like listening to this podcast is a lot of fun.
Yeah, Podbean, iTunes, rate, comment, and subscribe. If you ever have any song requests for the end of the show, how we always do it, just send them in. Podbean doesn't do, or iTunes don't do copyright laws. They haven't figured it out yet, so hopefully they don't figure it out. I mean, because I like doing the songs at the end. If you have a song request, send it in and we'll pick them. I don't care how bad they are. Unless they're country, I'm not a fan. So please, no country. Please don't. But yeah. Anyway, what song do you want to go out to this week, Brad? I'll let you pick this time.
I think there's only one song that's appropriate for the occasion.
Well, you can't play it right now because I'm gonna actually download the song and do that whole thing.
That's a good question. Then I guess what song should we go out to? How about God, you don't want. I think you're a little bit picky. What kind of music do you want?
I'm a rock and roll guy. Any WWE entrance theme works. I don't know. Rock and roll. I'm a rock and roll guy mainly. I can do some hip hop here and there.
How about Blink 182? All the Small Things.
That's the one song I hate from them. Pick another one.
Oh my God, are you serious?
Yeah, a little bit. I hate that song.
It's the song about Batista's dick, and you hate it. I can't believe it.
No, CM Punk knows how big his dick is, so that's the hot scoop this week. We're scooping.
They've shared the same women talent, so that could be true.
They have. You're telling me. All right, fine. You want to play? I'll play All the Small Things. It's playing right now, so you're welcome. You're welcome. All right. Any last words, at least for this segment?
Live long and prosper.
I guess. All right. We'll see everyone next week. Stay out of trouble. No amphetamines, please.
Peace.